And thanks for watching, tuning, listening in. Appreciate you. Uh, I want to thank you. We were trying to start a little bit more on time, and I want to thank my friend and colleague and business partner, Edie Akamoto, for being here today. We're going to talk about a few things, and she was kind of surprised because she thought she wasn't going to be the guest, which is always interesting. I think that people need to know who you work with and their particular stance, and I just thought it was kind of good to have her on as we start to launch this in the phase of education and best medicine, and we're going to be moving it from a nonprofit to fee for service and a money making venture. So we're excited about that. Again, I want to thank everybody for watching and on YouTube and on Facebook. We gave a pretty good shot of Edie, and that's what I want to have happen on this Facebook. Um, uh, I want to say again, thank everyone for viewing and uh, just kind of checking us out as we start to grow and learn more. Edie, why don't you introduce yourself and let folks know who you are and some of your passions like Rio V TV and that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm I'm actually usually used to be behind the scenes, not in front of the camera. So I'm more behind the camera. And as a result, this is a nice surprise for me to be in front. Uh, and I'll be happy to share. Now, where's the camera? Where should I look?
You don't just look, just keep talking.
Okay. So it's basically a radio. It's not going to be aired. It's a video.
We're running live right now.
Oh.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Okay.
Nice to be part of the community. I have been working as a business consultant internationally for many, many years with the emphasis on marketing, business strategy in particular. And I helped over 200 companies over the like the span of my career, including companies like Microsoft, Digital Research, Hewlett Packard, Seagate. And about 20 years ago, I decided that I wanted to actually give back more. So I also wanted to support cultural activities. I helped UC Berkeley save one of their jazz teaching programs called the UC Jazz Ensembles. They had lost their funding and needed to survive the span between not having funding and having to get regular fundraisers until they eventually got permanent funding again, which is wonderful. Thank you very much. All of the companies that help communities in terms of culture, in terms of health, in terms of understanding the world around us, I actually, I'm a believer that if we understand each other more and we can tune into each other more, and then we can be more naturally supportive of each other and more understanding. And that has always been my goal since I was about 13, when I learned about media in general. And when I met George Pearson, I was so excited because I believed that I was interested in it and he was doing it and has been committed to educating people about their health, about history, about how history and health interrelates, which it does. I think a good example right now is, COVID changed the world and people get affected by what happens around them. And it affects them on the inside as well as on the outside, and sometimes it has impact on their minds and their health. It's all interrelated, and my goal is to support companies and ventures that make the world a better place. So that's about it.
Yeah. So that's what we are what I am and what I feel is education is best medicine. So, where we draw the line in the sand, and uh, Edie is helping me with a website, and we've been downloading shows over the last 6 months now, I guess, maybe
Well, actually, 1 year now.
1 year.
But
Yeah.
there was I got really busy with another venture. There was a small nonprofit company, and they got into an audit, and they had actually, I'm not going to mention the name because they had actually not kept their books very well at all. I had to correct 1,600 plus mistakes and recreate a lot of the missing, books. And, I'm very, very delighted that the company made it through the audit intact. And of course, it was quite an ordeal for the founder and owner. And that did take around the clock effort on my part to deal with the IRS on their behalf and basically fix the book. So every once in a while, I get, go down the rabbit hole of a project here and there.
Yeah.
But I'm delighted to be here with George, who I admire, who has, and what I admire the most is the integrity that I've watched now for over a decade, well over a decade.
And I appreciate that. And kind of like, I want folks to understand that, collaboration is a good thing. And certainly I want to thank Edie for contributing, a lot of time to helping the molding of this as a business venture. And it's something we can breathe more light and replicate. And I think that you have to have people that have not only integrity, good business sense, but kind of smart. So it's been a long time in coming as this thing evolves in terms of the website and article publishing and writing, and because there's a wealth of information out there, and the intersection that we want to use between education is the best medicine and maybe GPT chat and all the sources that they have there that from a ethnic and really pressing an African American point of view of how these health issues affect that community and communities like it, because we're all interwoven, it's all interlaced. I tell folks that the pandemic may be over, but COVID is still here. It'll be here for a long time, and we have to kind of manage or to start understanding and manage those health risks as opposed to being so laissez-faire.
I totally agree. I think that long COVID is an actual thing. And one of the things that I personally enjoy when I'm helping out on the, article, I use ChatGPT to write some of them. I think it's important for two reasons. One is that it saves a tremendous amount of time. On the other hand, I think it's also important that the AI is trained to also think of situations from multiple point of views. And if we as a community don't use it, then the AI eventually will get just as biased as, a lot of the other things that we all encounter
And
every day.
speaking of that, two of the major players in AI have just resigned from GPT chat. I don't know if you heard that, but there seems to be now follow the money.
Well, that's always the case.
Yeah,
That's
follow the
always
money.
the
So I was trying to see where they had resigned their positions behind the takeover of the company, in the leadership individual who says he's almost like started a business in his living room, and now it's a $1 billion company that I guess everybody wants a piece of. So that's what they do when they want pieces of it. See, which talks about the cutthroatness of business and how we
Well,
Can it be kind of,
I would like to refrain business because I think the way people view business often is, yes, there are jerks out there that are incredibly selfish. However, I find that I would say about the 80-20 rule applies. And I think that 80% of the business people, they just want to make a living so they can take care of their families, that they can take care of their kids, their grandparents, their, education is expensive sometimes. So I don't think all business people are inherently bad. I believe if people are put in front of a decision where they can do the right thing and still meet their own personal needs as equally to just being a jerk, I think most people would actually choose doing the right thing. I think it's only about 20% who would, want to, who enjoy being quote unquote evil. Um, and I think that even selfish people very often don't realize that they're being selfish because everybody looks at the world from their own point of view. However, I think that if more people proactively, consciously seek out community, everybody will benefit. And I'd love to make a little comment about, switching from a nonprofit to a for-profit.
yeah,
And what the reason why I'm recommending that is, uh, I think that George and eventually his, family should benefit from all the effort he has made. He has over 20 years of television programs that are many times not outdated. They're still true. I personally have learned a lot just by pushing up the videos onto the website, which I'm still in the process of, and writing articles to accompany them, posting articles that George is writing. We hope that we can get nonprofit companies as well as for-profit companies submit articles to us so that we can share the wealth of knowledge. And we want to give opportunity to advertisers, sponsors, regular companies to provide us with their stories so that we can also highlight smaller businesses, local businesses, big businesses that have positive programs that are actually very helpful, but they have no place to share that information. I think that education is the best medicine, is a wonderful opportunity to pool all the resources of everyone. For instance, when I wrote about Barbara, who is the founder of Believe, I had never heard about her before, but everybody in the world should know about her. There are amazing people, Mr. Taylor, who is a history professor and a renowned history professor. I learned more about how psychology works and how history affects psychology from him than I learned from anybody. And I think there are companies that might want to sponsor some of the sections, some of the articles, have their own contributions to make. And that's the reason why I think we should open up and invite other people to contribute.
and certainly, in the context of, education being the medicine, um, there needs to be a change in the paradigm about how and why we think the way we think. Um, a number of cognitive biases prevent really true clarity of thought because, and what I mean by that is that it colors how you should think about what it is that you're doing. It colors how you might approach somebody or how I might do a physical or how you might write an article. I think things like GPT chat allows you to have a more diverse uh, review of information before you may want to talk about it because certainly there's things that I'm thinking about and I'm talking about that I hadn't done before, because you want to wire that differential. You know, you want to broaden that perspective, and I think that's what we need to do. And I think what happened was that over the years, I want to thank again this. I want to thank Mark and I want to thank Fernanda Fisher for their work and create this whole dialogue and library that we all come to benefit from. And because you don't do these things by yourself, none of this is done by ourselves. And my collaboration with Edie is because we can't do these things by ourselves. We have to collaborate. We have to be willing to share knowledge and be open to change.
I think that being open to change is really important. I also think that becoming aware of our internal biases. I'm certainly, had to go through growth periods tremendously so. I grew up in a very lovely little town in, outside of Munich. I went to school in Munich. I went to growth finishing school. When I was raised to serve my husband eventually, and my life ended up to be entirely different from, the way I was programmed as a child. And I had to learn a lot. I did. It wasn't always easy, but I think it certainly has made it a better life and an exciting life.
Mhm.
And I think that is available to every person on this planet. We don't have to be locked into our own history. We can step outside of our own history, but it takes a conscious effort to evaluate, does this feel right? Does this not feel right? Am I doing it because I want to do it, or am I doing it because everybody else told me I have to do it this way? Do I actually believe that? Do I actually agree with the belief system, or do I actually believe something else, but I'm compelled to believe something because I'm told that way?
Mhm.
And I think that we all can grow. And in fact, I believe it's important and necessary that we all grow because the world is changing all around us. We are on the cusp of a minority majority. What that means is that, in California, in some cities already, white people are becoming the minority. I think it's time for us to join the majority, which is brown and black people. And I think that it's completely okay for us to admit when we're ignorant and when we are learning that we want to learn. And at the same token, I think it's really, really important to the new majority to realize we, I encourage everybody to say, oh my God, I'm brown, I'm black. I am part of the majority now. What do we as a majority want this country to look at like? How do we want our life to look like? What do we believe? And I think that education is the best medicine is meant to create a platform to share ideas, concerns, possibilities, situations that are available. If you look at the interviews, you will be inspired. I have no doubt about it.
Well, we've had a long history of believing that what we were providing hasn't been provided in the general educational population and from our tone and tilt. And I think that's important because when you make information specific to that individual group of people, that tend to respond to it better as it were just a generic message.
That is so true.
And I think that, the generic message is, well, I'll even put it further that when I first started practicing, we didn't collect racial data. Everybody was the same. Everybody got treated the same. And the only reason racial data was collected is so that folks could follow the money, So a certain group of people got a certain amount of money because they were a certain color. But the bottom line is that the healthcare dollar went to everyone. and everyone would benefit or not benefit by good or bad care. And so I think in the historical piece, I have had to interface cultural and social barriers that provide people of color from getting the best care possible for whatever reason possible. It's not that we're number one in a number of the health category outcomes in terms of adverse outcome, hypertension, excuse me, heart disease, cancer, environmental, um, criminal justice. It's not that we're bad people, it's that bad things have happened to us.
Very
And,
much so, very
and
much so.
that piece is something that I think has to be layered inside what we talk about, or at least what I talk about, because it influences the care,
Hugely, it
Yeah.
influences it hugely. One of the things that I can give a quick example. So I am a white woman. I'm somewhat privileged. I was raised privileged. I may not be so privileged now, but that doesn't really matter. The important part is I have expectations. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, I wanted to get the best part. I expected to get the best possible treatment. My kids came with me to the meeting. They grilled the doctors. They grilled them to find out what are the options, what are the potential outcomes, how does it fit with my personal belief system. I believe natural medicine is better whenever possible. Although, of course, I went through chemo and radiation, like most people who get cancer.
Mhm.
However,
And survive.
I am free and clear now for years, and the important part is that the the system responded to my expectations. I got informed, I got invited, I got offered choices. I have a friend and neighbor who unfortunately recently passed away from his cancer. And I was appalled when I asked him, I said, "How are you doing?" And he looked really ill. And I said, what's going on? And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, what does the doctor said?" They said they don't say anything to me. And what I found when I was digging, what I found is that he didn't ask, he didn't expect them. He thought they were the authority. They will tell him what he needs
Exactly.
to know.
Exactly.
And they were waiting for him to ask the questions
Exactly.
because they came from a system that was more akin to the one I was raised in. That you ask for the questions, you grill them, you say, what are the variables? What are my choices? What are my options? And he didn't do it. And as a result, he got absolutely the worst care possible from the same provider that I was at. So
Yeah. And I think that too is that I have to always say that when systems are made for you, they tend to benefit you. When systems aren't made for you, they tend to dismiss you.
And I found that in that example to be entirely true after I essentially coached his children on what to do. His treatment completely flipped and changed. Unfortunately,
Still
it
too
was
late.
too late.
Yeah.
And I think that's why education is what you do, George, is so important. If everybody knows that, yeah, I wasn't raised like that, but I can learn.
I think too is that the expectation is that we were supposed to receive less. And if you're supposed to receive less, then really you end up getting nothing.
And that's why I want to emphasize the minority maturity. Everybody has a right to get the best possible
Yeah.
treatment. And we need to internalize that belief.
Yeah.
And if we are not raised like that, then it is hard. But then where the friends and neighbors, community has to come together and help.
And so what I try to have folks understand is that it's just a numbers game. 85% of the physicians are white men. And if you talk to the head of Lancet, white men that are physicians can be racist, and they can't be racist because they're doctors. Well, they wrote this in the Lancet article a few years back, and of course they were asked to lead an editorial board, but by that time they had educated doctors for 20 years. So,
Well, and also most prejudice is unconscious. People are not aware that they're being,
back to the cognitive bias.
yeah, that, and that is something that's extremely difficult to overcome. And I think the grassroots approach, where people are held accountable, is a must to change any system. Because eventually, when the pressure is, when it becomes apparent that it will hurt the purse, the money, that's when people start to change. Unfortunately, that is true in most cases. You get the occasional enlightened, business leader, but for the most part, I would say the excuse is always my boss won't allow it. And most people report to the people on the board of directors, and most of those are white males, and that's not going to change.
Well, if you talk to the back to that, what happened to Mr. CEO Sam Alton? That was him. And I only say that because his is the true, no doubt, the brains behind GPT chat and its ancillary issues. And the parent company decided that they were going to fire him. They said that the decision comes after the board said he no longer had confidence in his ability to continue leading OpenAI after finding that Altman was not consistently candid in his communications with the board, according to a statement on Friday. And so two of his lieutenants that worked with him in this initial project left also, but this is a white male, and an intelligent white male. But, if I read behind the lines, it's about that they didn't feel he was making the financial moves that they wanted him to make in order to really, make more money, I guess.
Well,
I mean, that's how I read into it.
I think that's partially it. And also, AI is a industry that's in its infancy. And the board didn't like the fact that people were starting to point out, the programmers who started it, who actually created it, started to point out danger zones.
Oh, but
And they definitely exist. I mean, they claim that you're raising, that AI is like a human mind, which it is not. It's akin, it's a cheap copy of it, but it learns by observation. So if you learn behavior that is bad, in fact, Microsoft had an AI bot that they had to, for customer service, they had to close it down because after a few years, they found that it became racist and obnoxious and started swearing at people. And the reason being is that when you are on the phone and you want to get tech support, you might get very frustrated and you start expressing your frustration. And the bot learned from these very frustrated people. And it started acting in a frustrated way and started to be belligerent, racist, started using swear words. And that danger exists in all the AIs. That's why I said earlier, we have to all start using AIs so that everybody's perspective is included in the training of the data, because it's whatever data goes in, that's eventually what's going to come out.
They're akin this to the creation of the atom bomb. They're saying that this has the potential to have that kind of impact.
I think everything is good and bad. It depends on how it's used.
Mhm.
However, the atom bomb, I don't know what the positive thing about it is. And and in AI, can it save time potentially? Can it create loss of jobs? Absolutely, it will, no doubt about it. And it will, you know, it will save time on the one hand. So again, the few will benefit greatly, and the many will get hurt. And that is definitely gonna some, unless the AI is trained by all of us so that it can benefit all of us.
That's true.
Right now, it's being trained mostly by white males. And I mean, I don't think in this circle, I don't think I have to say what that means
Yeah.
down the road. So I think everybody needs to become aware of it. But again, I think the grassroots co-op level is the best way to go, because even when it happens, I mean, look at California. We are so lucky to be in Northern California. This country has areas and neighborhoods where it's genuinely totally unsafe to walk.
Yeah.
We have our own shares of problems here, but we have a community that has a community spirit, and we want to make it better. We want to create a better place. And I think that not everybody is lucky like that. And I believe that the only solution, especially when take AI gets, starts increasing, and it will be in the hockey stick growth, it's just
I can see it
ramping
now.
up, and it's going to go up like that. Local communities will have to stick together and have their own infrastructure, have their own distribution line, have their own food productions. And I think the sooner we start with community gardens, the sooner we start with supporting each other in our neighborhoods, I think the better we all will, get along.
Well, we're at 32 minutes. And,
Oh my gosh.
It's Education Plus Medicine, Elite Radio, 24-hour inspiration gospel station. I want to thank Curtis for letting us in and helping us get started. And I want to thank you and everyone for listening. Steve Akamoto, she's an entrepreneur and leader of Rio TV and just media mogul and humanist too. Definitely a humanist. I wanted to give a special shout out to Mr. Bernard Weston. Who is he? Mr. Bernard Weston was an African American. Did you know about him? Well, I didn't know about him either. But it appears he's very significant and one of the prime movers in the March on Washington. Mr. Weston happened to be, as he said, homosexual. And I bring that up because we need to understand that some of the greatest people you never hear about and some of the greatest things you never hear about because of the politics around them being known. And so, again, to even put it forward, he was very instrumental in forming the March on Washington, and in which Martin Luther King did his "I Have a Dream" speech. Had you ever heard about that?
Okay,
Did you know him? Did we ever see him in the movies? I don't think so. Always remember those whose on shoulders we stood and stand and continue to understand, regardless of their sexual orientation or their color, their skin, their religion. There was no right or wrong to him. If you have an issue with him sleeping with a man, then I guess it's your personal issue. He didn't have an issue. He happened to love a man, so. But he was an ardent defender of African American rights, and I think that he should be always remembered and honored in the context of a man who stood up, a gay man who stood up and spoke for African Americans in a way they couldn't have done before in regards to the March on Washington.
I am so glad you are sharing this kind of knowledge. And also I'm thrilled that you are emphasizing that we are all equal, regardless of race, color, sex, nationality, origin. Who we love shouldn't matter. And, some of my best girlfriends, okay, guys?
Mhm.
I,
Two of my mentors got me in the medicine with two gay African American men. So I always say that.
and I think that people are people.
Yeah.
And if they're nice and smart and funny, I love them. And, if they're in trouble, then I want to help them if at all possible. And I think and he wrote the speech.
No, what he did was help formulate the whole March on Washington.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
there's a movie out about it now, but I just thought it was significant because that's
That's
Yeah.
changed the world.
well, of course, and that's what the issue around woke history is. History that doesn't paint history in the way we need to understand it and see it. It paints it the way that makes everybody comfortable for those folks that need to be comfortable with history. So
I so agree.
yeah,
I
so
mean,
yeah, it's kind of the dialogue that got me into education and that's medicine. I wasn't hearing that. I was just hearing all the vanilla stuff, or the chocolate stuff, but never the in between stuff. Never the things that you have to think about. And so hopefully I will always try to have people think about things in a different way, in a different venue, to affect change, and, you know, bring light to a very dark world. Uh,
I love
and
that.
so and so that's where all these things come from. So I think that you were important to come on because you will be not only helping craft the message, but helping get it out there. We're going to use the website as a real focal piece for that. And it's just
And I hope that the community is inspired. And again, I want to emphasize, if you have a nonprofit, if you have a small company, if you have a message that you want to get out there, please get in touch with us at educationisthebestmedicine.com and or .org. Both of them are working, although we're probably going to drop the .org. And please let us know. We have initially, we're going to have a rubber rate card, and essentially we have, which is what I've been doing as a business consultant. I used to get agencies that used to hire me, charge me out at $400 an hour. Now that nonprofit I just helped, I charge $35 an hour. So I think that we can all become open to working together. And sometimes the benefit is money. Sometimes the benefit is having a bit more light in the dark world.
well, we do national days, and today is National Stress Awareness Day. The National Stress Awareness Day is the first Wednesday in November and aims to identify and reduce the stress factors in your life and our life and everyone's life. I think everyone would be benefited by reducing the stress in their life, lowering the blood pressure, taking deep breaths, taking walks, finding that quiet time for themselves, uh, inner peace.
Yeah.
So getting some of that. So everyone has stress. Some stress is good for us. It helps us respond to changes in our life. This is a National Stress Day webpage. It says that, however, too much stress causes harm to our health and relationships. Identifying stressors impacting our physical and mental health is important. It's really interesting. I can see a person for a myriad of health problems, but I doubt maybe less than 4 or 5% of people say they don't have stress in their life.
Well, most people have stress in their life sooner or later or
Mhm.
occasionally, but very few people understand that our bodies are allergic to stress. We are literally allergic to stress. It increases our blood pressure, which is harmful to our body. If you have cortisol going into your body too much and too frequently, you are actually hurting your kidneys. If your kidneys are hurt, you can't get the nutrition into your body that you need. And so the combination is literally sometimes deadly. There is an organization called HeartMath, which was created to help white male in executive positions to stop having heart attacks. And they hired the Stanford Research Institute to teach people what happens, and the knowledge has to get out there, and it is true for each and every one of us. It doesn't matter how, how endurant, I'm a mellow person, I can take it. That doesn't mean you should, because it's harmful.
Well, this is once you identify those causes of stress, I mean, there are multiple, it can be physical abuse, stressful work environments, or financial stress, or family health issues, whatever it is, you need to identify it and find ways to develop the coping skills for the anxiety, identify and let go of things you cannot change, exercise to help let go of built up anxiety, eating a balanced diet fuels our bodies so we are able to better cope with the stressors.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Exercise and breathing slowly. They literally found out that when you're breathing slowly while you're counting to, to breathe, like count in 2, 3, 4, then hold it, count out 2, 3, 4. When you do that 10 times, 20 times in a row, your body will calm down. It takes 6 hours to get rid of the cortisol that gets into your body when you have one stressful thought. So learning these coping mechanism is highly recommended.
Yeah, and it says that you need to develop a routine to lessen your stress. I mean, identify it first, and then develop a routine for de-stressing.
Right.
You can go for a walk, or you say do deep breathing, get some exercise or massage, or take a long relaxing bath. If you're struggling with a amount of stress in your life, you need to seek help too. Behavioral challenges, anxiety, depression, all can be that foundation of stress. And so maybe talk to a health professional or to a mentor, to a religious professional, or getting to clinical care, seeing a therapist. It's no shame to do
And
that.
asking for help is a skill that everybody needs to practice. As a chairman, it was not easy for me. It was one of the things that it took me years, actually decades, to learn to ask for help when I needed it. And I get it that when you're used to not getting help, it's hard to ask once again, and then, feeling disappointed. But reaching out to people every once in a while, people say yes. And I think it's totally worth it to try it out.
Yeah, and it's, again, take some time to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else.
And I am now, just a year ago, I started scheduling in me time. Just as important as other meeting, my me time is just as important, and I schedule it in, and it makes me happy, and I think you all should try it.
Yeah. So we've got 2 more days that I want to observe, and I just think they're important. And it's, again, November International Day for Preventing the Exploitation of the Environment in War and Armed Conflict. And it was created by the UN General Assembly in 2001, and it's declared on November 6th as the International Day for Preventing Exploitation of the Environment in War, armed conflict. And as we go around and see these wars, we can understand the environmental impact it had upon not only the countries impacted, but the entire world. And one of the things that these kinds of this destruction of property, of course, the war in armed conflicts, and another context as well, which is water pollution, torch crops, poison soil, dead animals, and destruction of forests, which can't be healthy for any living, breathing thing in that arena or over the world. And a lot of these things are done to gain military advantage. Uh, but the conflict involves natural resources such as,
War
oil,
is
diamonds,
devastating.
timber.
War is devastating.
Yeah.
They did a study in the Netherlands where the Germans occupied that city, and the Dutch decided to track the women in that town and their babies, and they're now on the second and third generation. And there were DNA changes from the stress of those people. People who experienced the hunger that was, that happened because of that occupation and the war, even in the third generation, people had adverse health outcomes.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to be taken, peace is good and we all should strive for it.
Well, and they were saying that government officials, scientists, and educators around war should observe this day. Group discussions should be about better understanding the negative effects of war on the environment. Solutions are proposed to protect Earth's ecosystem and in the search of life conflict, radio talks, that kind of thing. And I want to, as we kind of like ending the show, and we're going to come back to some things, but also it's National Princess Day.
What is that?
And
We are
my
in the US.
granddaughters, I want to thank them for being all my
that's sweet.
princesses. And Kaylee and Kazai and Kate, Kalina, and all of them, and Jamie was passed, but they continue to be my princesses. It says that, it says, princesses, who shine the light of a gift of laughter, making everyone around her smile. And the princess shows her loyal nature by great act of kindness and has a heart of gold. All my girls have that. And the princesses may be bold and confident and ready to take on every new challenge, and they can do that.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, Karnazi, Kalima, thank you of you guys both. And again, wishing a birthday to my Jamie and Kalina. Thank you. Anyway.
Well, you are inspired by them.
Oh, I love them.
You talk about them all the time, and I'm your witness.
Yes, and my girls. So how does Edie Akamoto see the future? It seems like you're always, like me, moving to something new, something different. What do you think the future brings out for you?
I think the future is even though there are a lot of challenges in the world, I actually think things are getting better and better and better. And it's because I believe in the younger generations.
Mhm.
I believe the millennials, I am so impressed by them. I am thrilled about Gen Z. I am just amazed at the abilities of the alphas. And I think the sooner we are supporting the young people to do things their way, the sooner we will have a fantastic world.
Mhm. Well, it's been a great show. We're not done yet, but I just want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for all the collaborations and all the knowledge you've provided over the years. We always tend to see education investments as like a lump of clay that we keep trying to mold into something that we really start to use now. I'm excited because it's a vehicle that we're going to be able to use. And it's free of a lot of the baggage that could have held it down by not being ethical and honest and clear about the direction of what we want to do. So I'm really happy about that.
Well, I think that every company is a reflection of their CEO, and that's just plain old true.
Mhm.
And I think education is the best medicine is a reflection of you.
Thank you.
And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for who you are. You are a genuinely true gentleman. And I think you actually have the best interest of everyone in mind. And I cannot be more grateful and thank you that you even exist is wonderful for me and everybody that gets to, watch your shows and read all of the knowledge that you share. And I think you enrich people's lives, and I am grateful.
Well, like I said, you don't do these things alone, and we want to make the website a very powerful vehicle, and make it a vehicle that has a transitional functionality,
Yeah.
and really excited about that. Want to again thank RTV. I want to thank
Yes.
Etymology and Curtis, all the folks that make this medium possible. And we continue to try to grow and change and learn more and do more. And I think all of us, I think what I appreciate about Edie, she's a lifelong learner, and so am I. So that makes it easy. She don't have to explain everything all the time. You just know this is where we should be going because it makes sense. It makes, economic, intellectual, and historical sense. So,
And I have a question for you that maybe other people have too. Where can you find Believe Radio? How can I find it?
it's believeradio.com. And so,
Oh.
and I think we're going to really work, it's Believe Radio Bay Area also, and put that into the search. And pick it up that way. So it's one of the things and in the back of ground right there, you can move it here and
Yeah.
put your phone on it.
It's just a QR code. Yeah.
So
I think that what Barbara and all of the people in this group are doing is just inspiring.
yeah. Of course, shout out to Barbara Howard. They're doing a women's retreat, and it's inspiring women. So they're meeting and again retooling and re-energizing all these mitochondrial Eves hanging out there. So good luck to them. Have a great time. Ladies, please enjoy. And yeah, but we're just getting started. It's almost the end of the year now, so I'm glad we got you on because moving forward in 2024, I'm really excited.
Well, we're gonna make a bigger time commitment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just finished one of the other projects that I've been involved with, so
Yeah.
I have more time. And
Yeah.
I am thrilled about it because I believe it feels right.
Yeah, we're looking at monthly articles and piggybacking off a lot of things that we do, updating a lot of the shows, taking that show and seeing how we can, take the content and bring it into the 2023, 24, 25.
Yeah.
So,
And I hope more people come on and share what they're doing now. There's so many good people out there.
Mhm.
We need to share their stories.
yeah.
And I hope that we get more inbound requests to get articles and interviews. And because I think that there are so many fantastic people out there that are in their own little cubbyhole, not really, building the kind of audience we can do if we all pull together.
And one of the articles that I want to start in the on the website is in the first person, and in the first person is just that this person talks about themselves in the first person, about what
I
they're
love
doing,
that.
how they're doing things. I ran the article at Mina for a couple of years, and it got a really good response, giving a profile of an individual along with their, in the first person thought.
So if there's anybody that knows a lot and shares a lot, send them to us, please.
Yeah, again, want to thank you for coming on. It's always challenging to make change. It's always uncomfortable to make change, to move into different areas. And I think that one of the things that this has allowed me to do is, no matter else what's going on, I could always have a home in education and business and doing either media or writing or both, and pushing the content, you know. And I think that the content that we have, the content we're going to develop, will have a find its own place. And again, we make no apologies about being more culturally specific and targeting underserved, undervalued populations.
Well, I think it's important that we share our individual point of views because it's not being covered as much in the general media as it should be. And so why don't we just do it ourselves then?
Makes sense. Makes sense to me. If you don't tell your story, someone will tell it for you. And I think that what we want to do with education is the best medicine is make sure we tell the story and let people make those decisions about the validity of the story. We'll always try to, and we'll always be fact-based, information-based, data-driven. I think that's the best way to do things.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to have mix up opinions and facts. That is something that I'm allergic to actually, because it stresses me out. If you can't believe what if you don't say what you mean and mean what you say, then what's the point?
This is true. I mean, it's I think that part of the creation of this was a point of view that I was in hearing and seeing, as well as a voice. And it's a discussion that I think that when you have it and continue to have it at some point in time, the 100th monkey gets it.
Well, I think if we reach, one or the other person, then at least it won't be a waste. And I think that you have reached a lot of people, George.
Yeah. It's been interesting in terms of starting this off and not knowing how it was going to evolve itself. And at first, there wasn't a lot of data on people of color. And you always saw them number one in the particular disease process, but the information that brought them to the disease process you never saw. You're seeing it now. And even to the, target and individualized medicine practices now.
Thank God about that.
So it's where genetics comes in, and environmental issues and cultural issues, and we've got about 2 minutes. As I've always done, I like my guest to have the last word.
Well, the last word is this is the beginning, and I hope that all of us come together to create a fun place where special people can get their story out, that we inspire each other, and that the circle of contributors grows. Companies, if it's a small company, a big company, doesn't matter to us. We find a way to give you coverage, because I think the more we let each other know that we exist, the better the whole effort is going to be.
I agree. I want to thank you for watching. Folks, it's been great. We'll see you in December. with a whole slew of shows. Miss Howard will be in next week to do her piece. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. May you have a great, great holiday. Be careful out there. Don't eat too much turkey. That's what you do. Watch yourself. Just be careful. Watch the alcohol.
Please.
Watch the gatherings. COVID is not over yet. Edie, thanks for coming over.
Well, it's my surprise and pleasure.
Okay. Hey, thank you, folks. We're going to end the cast now and look forward to talking with you in December. Bye bye. Just a second.